Let's talk about Nigeria. If Africa was a country, then Nigeria would be Texas. Everything is bigger, there's a ton of oil, and the people love telling you that they come from there. Well, I don't know if you know this, but I'm originally from Texas. Have I ever told you that I am from Nigeria? The Lone Star State. Woo-hoo! Nigeria is the best country in the world. And most importantly, praise Jesus. Praise Jesus. I was going to say the same thing, huh? Praise the Lord. So, right now, the West African powerhouse of 200 million people is dealing with a series of protests that might seem a little familiar to people living in the U.S.
Nigerians have taken to the street for what is now a second week of nationwide protests against police brutality.
Protests across the country started after a video circulated last week. It reportedly showed members of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, or SARS, fatally shooting a man and then driving off in his car.
This protest is being largely driven by young people. They say that they bear the brunt of the brutality of this specialist police unit. The hashtag #EndSARS trended worldwide on social media for days, with celebrities across the world of sport and entertainment getting in on the act.
Celebrities like Kanye West have joined in the recent protests, calling for an end to SARS.
Stop killing our boyfriends, stop killing our children.
End SARS now, today, not tomorrow. End SARS now.
That's right, people. Nigerians in Nigeria and all over the world have taken to the streets to call for an end to police brutality in their country. And if you know anything about Nigeria, the fact that these people are all on the same page makes this even more incredible. Normally, the only time Nigerians get this united is when their team is playing in the World Cup or when they're shitting on a neighboring country's food. So the other day, I was eating sand from the desert. Then when I looked down, I realized it was not sand. It was jollof from Ghana. I'm so funny because it's dry. It don't taste as good as ours, huh? But even though this is a global movement that includes everyone from the youth of Nigeria all the way to superstars like Kanye West, there are many people out there who might say, well, what is SARS? And why do we need to #end it? Well, let's find out why in another installment of If You Don't Know, Now You Know. As Nigeria struggled with high crime rates in the 90s, the government decided that the best solution would be to create a special police unit who could do whatever they wanted to stop crime. But as you might expect, things didn't go as planned.
It's a unit that was set up in the 90s. The initial purpose of it was to deal with armed robberies, cattle rustling, and other violent thefts.
They were given a special remit, initially not needing to wear uniforms, acting as a sort of faceless security force. Over time, essentially, they used their autonomy to be able to move around very freely, set up roadblocks, but they definitely became the kind of more brutal face of the police, eventually being accused of extrajudicial killings, torture, corruption, and robbery. Many Nigerians essentially see SARS as a replica of the very criminal groups that were set up to address.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, that's a plot twist I did not see coming. The good guys who were supposed to stop the bad guys eventually became worse than the bad guys? I mean, I suppose that is one way to end crime. You just take over the crime for yourself. That would be like if you got a dog to protect your house, but then woke up in the middle of the night and the dog's got a gun pointed at your face like, shh, 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 shh. Be a good boy and nobody gets hurt. And I know what some of you might be saying right now. Well, if these Nigerians would just obey the law, then they wouldn't have to worry about the SARS police. Well, unfortunately, obeying the law doesn't help when just existing is considered a crime.
There has been a policing culture that targets young Nigerian youths that are perhaps seen in flashy cars, and these are seen as internet fraudsters.
Because they see, young people looking good or young people dressing a type of way, they just automatically feel this guy is a criminal.
You are profiled if you have dreads, if you have tattoos, if you're wearing tight clothes, if you have an iPhone.
I've been in 2 times in just 1 year, 2 times because of my iPhone. And that is the first question they ask you, where's your phone?
I'm a woman. I I come back at night. Police will tell me that when I get money to buy my vehicle, they'll call me prostitute. We cannot do that. I work too hard for my money, man.
How can you see somebody on the road and you pick them up and they are criminals just by looking at them? Maybe I look fresh, all of a sudden I'm stealing?
Yes, SARS would arrest people for simply dressing well or having an iPhone. And to have the police arresting people for their clothing choices must be so confusing. Because on the one hand, it is horrible to be harassed by the police for how you look. On the other hand, it's also kind of a compliment. And if they don't arrest you, then you'll be like, wait, hold on, what's wrong with my outfit? You guys didn't pull me over. But the most surprising aspect of this for me is that people are getting profiled as criminals just for having an iPhone, which is insane. Criminals don't use iPhones, they use flip phones. Everybody knows this. If you need a phone that you might have to toss down a sewer while the cops are after you, you don't spring for 5G. But this just goes to show that this issue isn't unique in the US. Whether it's American police targeting Black Americans or Nigerian police targeting other Nigerians, police in many countries around the world know that they can abuse their power without ramifications because the people they harass don't have the power to respond. But after years of police brutality, Nigerians have responded. They've taken to the streets over the last few weeks to say that enough is enough. Unfortunately, the police response to these peaceful protests has been all too familiar.
We are seeing acts of police brutality on protesters demonstrating peacefully. Protesters dispersed by officers with water cannons, tear gas.
Live ammunition was used to disperse protesters against police brutality.
What is paramount to us is law and order. There must be law and order in whatever we are doing.
You know, it's amazing how around the world, law and order seems to be code for, let's beat the shit out of these protesters. Because just like we've seen in the US, the police in Nigeria responded to protests about police brutality with more police brutality. And this is the kind of behavior that you only see with police. No other industry has this. Imagine complaining to your waiter that there's something wrong with your food, and he responds by spitting in it right in front of you. I mean, I'm still gonna eat it because what kind of monster wastes Benihana, but best believe, I'm not holding back in my Yelp review. 3 stars max. Now the good news is, the protests worked, and all the pressure paid off. In fact, the Nigerian government announced that they would cancel the SARS unit with immediate effect. The bad news is, they already have a spin-off in the works.
The Nigerian Inspector General and the entire world have heard those chants of end SARS, and now the country is dissolving its controversial Special Anti-Robbery Squad known as SARS. A rebranded Nigerian police unit called Special Weapons and Tactics, or SWAT, has been organised and includes members of that disbanded group.
The campaigners here are calling the decision to abolish SARS a hollow victory, and they say that they will continue protesting. They're out on the streets this morning. They say these are just words and they are demanding action. This is, after all, the 4th time that this very same unit has been disbanded, and nothing has changed.
We do not want them to say they are banned. They was banned 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, but now we are saying end to SARS.
Okay, hold up. How are you gonna disband the corrupt unit, but then rehire the same officers under a different name? That makes absolutely no sense. That would be like if someone had a nightmare child who was like burned their furniture, and then instead of actually dealing with the problem, the parent was like, okay, I've had it, Jaden. Enough of this. From now on, your name is Brian. All right, here's some matches. Have a good time. I think we solved that. So, despite the government cracking down, protesters have remained in the streets and are now demanding wholesale reforms in all parts of Nigerian life. And as we saw just today, the police crackdown is only becoming more violent. But what started as a police protest has now turned into a call for a social revolution. Nigerians now want more jobs, better schools, better infrastructure, and an end to all corruption, which is what #EndSARS has now become. And if you don't know, now you know.